वाणी त्वं दासे मयि वितरदृष्टिं सकरुणाम् इति स्तोतुं वाञ्छन् कथयति भवानि त्वमिदीय तदैव त्वं तस्मै दिशसि निजसायुज्यपदवीं मुकुन्दब्रह्मेन्द्रस्फुटमकुटनीराजितपदाम् Ordered thus, Parshurama, again saluting the son of Atri. Who is the son of Atri? Dattatreya. Dattatreya Atri. With humility began to speak, began to ask. He said, Bhagavan, dear and esteemed master, omniscient one, ocean of mercy, once before for good reason I was furious with the Kshatriyas, with the kingly class. 21 times I strode the land, exterminating them all, including suckling babies and those in the womb, collecting their blood in a pool. My forefathers were pleased with my devotion to them. However, they ordered me to stop and desist from such carnage. My anger then was appeased. On hearing of the renowned Rama, the very incarnation of Hari in Ayodhya, my wrath was rekindled. Blinded by fury and proud of my prowess, I challenged him. I was defeated by that great Lord, and my pride was humbled. However, out of his innate kindness, he let me go with my life because I was a Brahmana. He said, go. It's okay. As I was returning, mortified by the defeat, I realized the vanity of the ways of the world. Some people realize the vanity of the ways of the world only after going through it. Some recognize it while they are young. Because you don't have to put your finger into the fire to know that if you put your finger in, it will burn. You've seen others burning, right? You don't have to yourself do that. Here Parshurama has done the whole course. He has been angry, he has been revengeful, he has been strong, and yet he had some devotion. All he had to do was to remove the negative part and keep the positive. But the positive he did with as much or more intensity than the negative. That's important to note. So, as I was returning, mortified by defeat, I realized the vanities of the ways of the world. You can hear me at the back? Yes? Unexpectedly, while I was returning, I met Samvartha, who was considered to be the king of Avadutas, the lord of Avadutas. And instinctively I recognized him like fire which hides in the embers. He was not showing any distinct outside show, but I found out instinctively that this was a great sage, because he was wandering like a madman in the forest. Nobody would have recognized Samvartha so easily. Samvartha, the brother of Brihaspati, looked like a maniac wandering in the forest. So if you see maniacs, they could be Avdutas. Treat them well. Samartha looked like a maniac wandering in the forest. That doesn't mean you should go and worship all maniacs, please. People, you say that, then people, anyway, somebody is sitting like this, they'll go and worship. Then somebody is sitting in the bus stop, they'll go and worship. Yeah. It's not like that. Some maniacs who are mad after God look like, not all. So, in fact, it is very easy to make a madman into a guru, into a teacher. Because poor fellow doesn't know anything. He is simply sitting and doing all kinds of things. You make him a guru. And I must tell you this funny story. That in Pune, in one of the hills in Pune, where there is also a Nath Sampradaya dhuni there was one sadhu. I came to know because long queue of people were going. They said, what is the name of the Baba? They said his name is Chile Baba. I said, Chile Baba? Yeah, he likes chila. In Maharashtra, chila is like dosa. Chile Baba. Okay, so what does he do? Most of the time he is asleep. There's a bench on which he is lying like this. And near him are bottles and bottles of vodka. I'm saying, don't mistake such people for avadutas. And open, no glass is required, and lie down. And lots of people are going in a line. And there is a big pot. So whatever people bring as offering, he'll put it all in the pot. The pot is on a stove, so it's being heated, and then he put one spoon and stir it, and for finishing he will do on it, spit, and then nicely rub it. And there is a line of people to take prasad. And what does he teach? Actually he doesn't know any, he can't say a word. There is a man standing next to him and there is a pot on the left side. You go long line, you go down. Baba, this is happening to me. You know, now holy men, people go only for that, right? I've not had a child for many years, or I need a promotion, or I have constipation for 6 weeks. People approach gurus for that only nowadays. I get 100, 200 emails every day. Anyway, even constipation, believe me. So, Baba is like this, like this. I went to see, curious. So, I will take that vodka, like one glug and he made. So I'm wondering what language is. It's no language, he's just blabbering. And there's this guy standing, he's saying, Baba is saying everything will be all right, 500 rupees dal do wahan. And there is a pile of 500 notes out there. They have just started coming out, so new. He won't say 200, 100, 500 rupees dal do. But what did Babaji? He said everything will be all right. Babaji, what did he say? Oh. That is not avaduta, mind you. So, be practical. So, sage Samvarta, the brother of Brihaspati, looked like a maniac wandering in the forest. Narada once directed the emperor Nivrita to him. Narada once asked Nivrita to take instructions from Samvarta and instructed him how to recognize. Because how do you recognize a mad person as a sage? So Narada gave all instructions how to recognize. The king accordingly met the sage and prayed for his help in the performance of a sacrifice, in which Brihaspati, prompted by Indra, had refused to officiate. Samvarta agreed, though hesitatingly, and later completed it in spite of the anger of Indra. Indra attempted to break up the function but was rendered impotent by the sage. You can see that in the Mahabharata, Ashwamedha Parva. His greatness was like red hot coal hidden in embers. In embers, every inch of his body was filled with exhilaration, so that when you went near him, you felt something happening to yourself. So I asked him to tell me about his state. So tell me how you are. What is your state? His answer was clear-cut and expressive of the essence of sweet nectar of eternal life. I could not pursue the conversation then and felt like a beggar maid before a queen. However, I prayed to him and he directed me to you, to Dattatreya. Accordingly, I have sought shelter at thy holy feet, just as a blind man who is entirely dependent on his friends. What Samvarta said is not at all clear to me. He blabbered something like Chile Baba. It is not clear to me. I have learnt the gospel of Tripura well. It is undoubtedly an intensive to devotion to Tripura Sundari. She is incarnate as you and always abides in my heart. But what have I gained after all? Lord, kindly explain to me what Samvarta told me before, which I can't make out now. I don't know what he said. Please explain it to me so that I can realize the goal. How can I do it until it is made known to me? So please help me. Parshurama says to, is it? Anyway, whatever I do in ignorance thereof looks like mere child's play. Formally, I pleased the gods, including Indra, with various ceremonies, observances, gifts and presents of food. Later I heard Samvarta say that the fruits of all these acts are very trivial. I consider those acts of no account, which yield only trifling results. Misery is not the absence of happiness, but limited happiness. Misery is not absence of happiness, it is limited happiness. That is misery. Because if you have not experienced happiness, you cannot recognize misery. Some happiness you must have. Then you know what is misery. That is not happening now. So, misery is not the absence of happiness, but limited happiness. For as happiness recedes, misery pours in. When happiness is there and then goes, then misery comes in. Even the very going of happiness is a misery, which is why we hold on to happiness as much as we can, because it can disappear at any time. This is not the only miserable result of action, but there remains a still worse one, fear of death, which cannot be mitigated by any amount of activity. Yeah? Whatever you do, you can go to the moon and come back, but you cannot mitigate death. And it's there always with us like a close friend. It doesn't go, we like to disguise it and keep it away, but it is there, always there. My devotional practices before Tripura are similar. All these mental concepts of my worship are child's play. The practices may be according to your instructions or different, or again, they may be with discipline or without discipline, since the Shastras differ upon these practices. Some say do this, some say do that. Meditations may also differ according to individual tastes and temperaments. How can that be? Devotion is just as imperfect as karma. How can transient mental concepts of devotion produce intransient results of high truth? For different people, devotion is different. Moreover, the practices are continuous and there seems to be no end to these obligatory duties. Always I keep doing this. My obligations are never ending. Now this is misery for me. I have noticed that Samvarta, the Lord of the Avadutas, is quite happy. Being completely free from any sense of obligation to act and its disastrous results. He seems to laugh at the ways of the world, to stride unconcerned on the road of fearlessness, like a majestic elephant refreshing itself in a lake of melted snow when the surrounding forest is on fire. I found him absolutely free from any sense of obligation, at the same time perfectly happy in his realization of the eternal being. How did he gain that state? And what did he tell me? I can't remember what he told me now. I don't seem to understand what he told me. But I know that he was like a lion walking around free, laughing at everything else. What did he tell me? How could he reach there? What is the state? Kindly explain these points to me. Rescue me from the jaws of the monster called karma. Praying so, he fell prostrate and took the master's feet in his hands. Of course, the Tattreya was sitting down, okay? When one is standing, if you take the feet in your hands, that is the end. It has happened to me once. Luckily somebody was behind, so I didn't fall. Somebody said Swami and what? So anyway, praying so, he fell prostrate and took the master's feet in his hands. Seeing Parashurama doing so, the master felt that he was now ready for realization. Sri Datta, whose very being was love, said gently, "O child Bhargava, lucky are you, your mind being thus disposed. Just as a man, sinking in the ocean, suddenly finds a boat to rescue him, so also your virtuous actions of the past have now placed you on the most sacred heights of self-realization. That Devi, Tripura Sundari, who is the conscious core of the heart." So where does she live? In the conscious core of the heart. And therefore knows each one intimately. You can't bluff to her. Swiftly rescues her unswerving devotees from the jaws of death after manifesting herself in their hearts. As long as one is afraid of the nightmare which is called obligation. As long as must he placate obligation, he will not find peace. How can a man stung by that viper called obligation ever be happy? From childhood we are taught, fulfill your obligations. How can a man stung by that viper obligation ever be happy? Therefore some men have gone mad, as if some poison had already entered their blood and were torturing their whole being, while others are stupefied by the poison of obligation and unable to discriminate between good and bad. Wrongly do they ever engage in work, being deluded. I told you this is not meant for the general public. Please, I am reminding you again. This is a very direct arrow. But good to know. While others are stupefied by the poison of obligation and unable to discriminate good from bad, okay. Men are from time immemorial, the women are safe, okay? Men are from time immemorial being swallowed up by the terrific ocean of poison. Like some travelers once on the Vindhya range, some travelers went up the Vindhya mountains, oppressed by the hunger in the forest. They mistook the deceptive Nakswamika fruits, Vishamushti, for some delicious oranges, because they were filled with the delusion of hunger. So anything they saw looked like it is eatable. So they found this Nakswamika fruit and started eating. In their voracious hunger, they ate up even without detecting their bitter taste. They then suffered torment from the effects of the poison, having originally mistaken the poisonous fruit for an edible fruit. Their reason being now blinded by poison, they eagerly sought relief from pain. And in their agony, in the agony of having eaten Nakswamika, they took hold of and ate thorn apples, thinking that they were rose apples. Believe me, human beings are like this. Then they also ate some thorn apples, thinking they are rose apples. Thorn apples are used for extracting a poisonous alkaloid. You know what it is? Thorn apple? Dhatura. I've seen people having dhatura and midday sun standing in Shirsasana. Yeah? They ate thorn apple. This fruit is either fatal or produces insanity. A little extra dose and you're dead. A little less dose and you do strange things. Suddenly you might stand like this and say, I am Shiva. Shivam. So, they became mad and lost their way. They didn't die, luckily. Some, becoming blind, fell into pits or gorges. Some of them had their limbs and bodies cut and scratched by thorns. Some were disabled in their hands, feet, or other parts of the body. Others began to quarrel and fight and shout among themselves, you told me to eat it. I didn't, you said, All wars in this world are fought because of people eating thorn apples. Really. And also Nakswamika to start with. They assaulted one another with their fists, with their stones, missiles and sticks till At length, thoroughly exhausted, they reached a certain town. They happened to come to the outskirts of the town at nightfall and therefore were prevented by the guardians, by the guards, from entering. Unaware of the time and place and unable to gauge the circumstances, they assaulted the guards and were soundly thrashed and chased away. They started assaulting the Gurkhas. They took out their kukris and chased them away. Some fell into ditches. Some were caught by crocodiles in deep waters. Some fell headlong into wells and were drowned. A few, more dead than alive, were caught and thrown into prison. Similar is the fate of those who, deluded with the quest for happiness, have fallen into the snares of the taskmaster of action. They are bewildered in their frenzy and destruction awaits them. You are fortunate, Bhargava, in having transcended that distracted state. Investigation is the root cause of everything. Inquiry, investigation. And it is the first step to the supreme reward of indescribable bliss. How can anyone gain security without proper investigation? Want of judgment is certain death. Yet many are in its clutches. Success attends proper deliberation till eventually the end is without doubt accomplished. Indeliberateness is the ever-present weakness of the Daityas and the Yatudhanas, Asuras and Rakshasas. Deliberation is the characteristic of Devas and therefore they are happy always. Which means, in daily life also, we are always distracted. We don't have a deliberation. One day I think this is good. Then again and next minute, no, this is better. Then the next, it goes on and on and on till the action becomes very weak. So there should be one-pointedness and deliberation even in worldly action. Not standing on the edge, jump, not jump. So, owing to their discrimination, the Devas, they depend on Vishnu and eventually conquer their enemies. Investigation is the seed capable of sprouting and flourishing into the gigantic tree of happiness. A deliberating man always shines over others. Brahma is great because of deliberation. Vishnu is worshipped because of deliberation. The great Lord Shiva is omniscient for the same reason. Rama, though the most intelligent of men, came to disaster for want of judgment before attempting to capture the golden deer, even gods. Later, with due deliberation, he spanned the ocean, crossed over to Lanka, to the island of the Rakshasa brood and conquered it. You must have heard how Brahma, also becoming on one occasion infatuated, acted rashly like a fool and consequently paid the penalty with one of his heads. You know the story. He had 5 heads, finally he became Chaturmukha, 4 heads, because of being infatuated. Shall I read that or leave it? You all know it? Most of you know, right? What about New Zealand? No. Okay. Unthinkingly, Mahadeva, Shiva, conferred a boon on the Asura and was immediately obliged to flee in terror for fear of being reduced to ashes. You know that Bhasma Asura. Many of you know of Bhasma Asura, no? So it is very dangerous to grant a boon to anybody. The boon granted to him, whoever I touch will turn to ashes. So this guy immediately wanted to touch Shiva. You know that story. Now to save him, Vishnu had to appear as a voluptuous damsel. And the Asura went behind her. So Shiva came out. Okay? So now that is another thing. On one occasion, Hari, having killed the wife of Bhrigu, became the victim of a terrible curse and suffered untold miseries. Similar, other devas, asuras, rakshasas, men, animals became miserable by want of judgment. Judgment is very important. On the other hand, great and valiant are the heroes of Bhargava, whose judgment ever befriends them. Eternal homage to them. Common people, being foolishly involved with regard to their sense of action, are perplexed at every turn. If on the other hand they think and then act, they will be free from all misery. The same when you speak. Follow three principles when you speak. You will avoid 80% of the problems of the world at least, if not spiritual. One, think before you speak. Second, find out who you are speaking to. You might have thought well and it may be the right thing to say, but it may not be the right person to say. Right? And three, is this the right time to say? If you just take care of these three things, much of the miseries that are caused by our words can be avoided. Actually, much misery is caused by words. First think, what am I going to say? Am I going to Leningrad and praise Vishnu? And when I speak, what am I saying? Am I in anger? Am I just saying some loose thing? And third, is that the right time to say it? Something may be true, it may be to the right person, it may not be the right time. Imagine a husband and wife had a terrible fight. And either the husband or the wife, they come to you and you say, look, the other way around, if it is the wife, treat your husband like a god, she'll say, shut up. It's not the right time to say. Okay, anyway. Can the sweet waters of dew collect in a tropical sandy desert already scorched by the heat? Similarly, can the refreshing touch of discernment be sought in the red-hot flue over the furnace of long burning ignorance? Discernment is, however, gained by proper methods, the most effective of which is also the best of all, that is the supreme grace of the goddess, who in hers, as the heart, who lives in the heart lotus in every one of us, Who has ever accomplished any purpose without her grace? Dattatreya is saying to Parashurama, nobody has achieved anything except through her grace. And where is she living? In the lotus, in the heart of every human being. The best solution for discriminate and deliberate living is to go to the heart and touch Tripura Sundari who lives there, in your hearts. Investigation is the sun for chasing away the dense darkness of indolence and laziness. It is generated by the worship of the goddess in the heart with devotion. When the Supreme Devi is well pleased with the worship of the devotee, she turns into vichara in him. She becomes his intelligence. She makes him understand and work deliberately in a discriminative way. Hey, the beautiful rain has come. When the Supreme Devi is well pleased with the worship of the devotee, she turns into vichara and shines in the blazing sun, as the blazing sun in the expanse of the heart. Devi is there in ignorance, in worship, in vichara, and later like fat in the milk, the curds and the churned butter in the milk. Therefore that Tripura, the Supreme Force, the being of all beings, the blessed, the highest, the one conscious of Shiva, who abides at the self of the self, should be worshipped sincerely, exactly as taught by the teacher. The forerunner of such worship is devotion and praiseworthy earnestness. The antecedent cause of these is again said to be the learning of the Mahatmya. Therefore, O Parashurama, the Mahatmya was first revealed to you. Having heard it, you have now progressed well. Vichara is the only way to attain the highest good. It's a warning to be not foolish. Vichara is the only way to the highest good. I was indeed anxious about you. And there is very good reason for such anxiety. Such anxiety until the mind turned towards vichara. From the overpowering disease of ignorance, just as one is anxious about a patient who is delirious, and one sees that his health shows signs of a favorable turn. So I was watching you to see you come out of this disease. And now I think you have, so we can proceed. If one's vichara takes root, the highest good has been achieved. As long as vichara is absent from a human being, the most desirable form of birth is of no use. The only useful fruit of life is vichara. Just remember that when Adi Shankara taught Vedanta through Hemachuda, for instance, he said very simply, no amount of rituals, no amount of any other activities of the Karmakanda are of any use unless there is viveka and vichara. But he also added vairagya. Now, vichara and, what did I say? Viveka lead to Vairagya. Because when you look and see nonsense, then you go away from it. So that requires vichara, that requires viveka. And what is viveka? Discriminating between what is permanent and what is impermanent. This is viveka, basically. The man without discrimination is like a frog in the well. Just as the frog in the well does not know anything either of good or of bad, and so dies in his ignorance in the well itself. In the same way, men vainly born in this Brahmanda do not know good or bad regarding themselves, and are born and they die in ignorance like the frog in the well. There is a story that once there were floods, and a frog from the big lake landed in the well. Then it saw one frog sitting there. So this frog said, "Hello, so how are you? Where have you come from?" He said, "I have come from the lake." He said, "Lake? What is a lake?" "It's a huge stretch of water," she said. "No, there cannot be a huge stretch of water. There is only water like this in the well." He said, "But I'm not from the well, I am from the lake." He said, "What lake? There is nothing called lake. There is only this well. How far can you jump?" He said, "I can jump from this end of the well to another." And that frog said, "I can also do that. So you are no different from me." But that frog said, "But I can also jump in the lake much further." She said, "All this is your imagination. There is no lake, there is no jumping." This is the way we live, in this little well, and die in this little well. If somebody says there is a lake, it cannot be. There is no lake outside. There is no river, there is no sea, there is only my little well. In this well we live. And if you say, "How are you?" All well. All well. Yes, well. All in the well. Yeah. So, even though afflicted by misery, he does not cease further indulgences. Even though afflicted by misery, he does not cease further indulgence in those causes antecedent to it, namely wealth, etc., etc. Just as a jackass pursues a she-ass, even if kicked 100 times by her. So also is a man in this world. It need not be an ass, it could be anything, any creature. But you, O Rama, by discriminating, have transcended misery. Thus ends the second chapter in Tripura Rahasya. You come to the third chapter, you must be wondering, saying all this, anything positive coming? Oh, we have heard only negative things. Having listened to Dattatreya's words, Parasurama was delighted and continued his questions in all humility. "O Bhagavan, it is precisely as my Lord Guru has said just that. Truly, a man will never head for destruction. Truly, a man will ever head for destruction in his ignorance. His salvation lies in investigation alone. The remote and the proximate causes have been mentioned by thee. They have been traced to this Mahatmya. I am in great doubt on this point. How does that happen? And what is again its proximate cause? Can it be that it is natural, like courage to a hero? Then why is it not shared by all? Why is not everybody discriminating? Why have I not got it as yet? Again, there are others who are more troubled and suffer more than me. Why have they not got this means? Kindly tell me. Thus asked Dattatreya, and the great ocean of mercy, thus asked Parashurama, and the great ocean of mercy, Datta, answered. He said, listen Rama, I shall now tell you the fundamental cause of salvation. Then all this is negative, okay. So you must be wondering, now how do I get out of this? I will give you the fundamental way of getting out of this misery, of this illusion. What is that? Fundamental cause of salvation? Sadhu satsanga, association with the wise, is the root cause for obliterating all misery. Association with the sages alone is said to lead to the highest good. Your contact with Samvarta had led you to this stage of enlightenment, which is the forerunner of moksha, of emancipation. On being approached, the sages teach the greatest good, only on being approached. They are not sitting somewhere and you are walking and say, come here, I will, no. Approach, find out, go. However much you are discouraged, still go. On being approached, the sages teach the greatest good. Has anyone ever got anything great without contact with the wise? In any case, it is the company which determines the future of the individual. A man undoubtedly reaps the benefits of his company, fruits of his company that he keeps. The Bhagavatam beautifully says that the human being is a society-oriented animal. Cannot live alone. Very few sages can live in isolation, but we cannot. We are interlinked. So what happens? May I put my feet up, please? You don't mind? Old age, no? What happens? I forgot. Bhagavat says, human being a social animal, cannot live in isolation, cannot live, whatever is around, they merge with that. So, if you have sadhu satsanga, then there is a group of people moving in the right way, or as you think, right? And all this is happening. If you don't have that, you cannot live in isolation, so you will fall into dursanga. You can't expect to live without support, right? So if you cannot meet in one place and meditate or talk about these things, discuss, even if you quarrel, it is all right. Or sometimes sing devotional song, you know that is a satsanga. If not, what will you be doing? Playing rummy in the club. So one day, next birth, you will become a playing card. And others will slap you on the table. That's all. I'm only trying to say that if you don't have this company, you will go into another. You can't live without company, right? So sadhu, satsanga is the most important thing. This is what he's trying to say, Has anyone ever got anything great without contact with the wise? In any case, it is the company which determines the future of the individual. A person undoubtedly reaps the fruits of his company he keeps. I shall relate to you a story to illustrate this point. There was once a king of Dasarna, a place called Dasarna, by name Hemachuda. Now, in a storytelling mode, Dattatreya is in a stew. There was once a king of Dasarna by name Hemachuda. He had two sons, Hemachuda and Manichuda. They were handsome, well-behaved, learned. At one time, they led a hunting party. All the kings and Kshatriyas, they all went hunting. You know the famous Rama hunted in the forest. So he went behind the golden deer also. So once these smart, good-looking, well-behaved boys went on a hunting party consisting of a great retinue of men and warriors into a deep forest on the Sahiya mountains, a place infested with tigers, lions and other wild animals. They were armed with bows and arrows. There they shot several deer, lions, boars, bisons, wolves, etc., by the skillful use of their bows. As more wild animals were being hunted down by the royal hunters, a tornado began to rage, pouring down sand and pebbles. A thick cloud of dust screened the sky, and it became dark as night, so that neither rocks, trees nor men could be seen. The tornado made also a dust storm come up. The mountains too were shrouded in darkness, so that neither hills nor valleys could be seen. The retinue hurried away, afflicted by the sand and pebbles hurled down by the tornado. A few of them took shelter under the rocks. Others sat hid in caves, still others under trees. The royal pair, the boys, the princes, mounted their horses and rode away into the distance. Hemachuda. Who are the two? Hemachuda and Manichuda. Hemachuda ultimately reached the hermitage of a sage in the forest, ashram, which had been built in a fine garden of plantains, dates and other trees. There, what did he see? Usually this happens. There he saw a charming maiden, whose body as bright as gold shone like a flame of fire. Hemachuda was bewitched at the sight of the girl, who looked like the goddess of fortune, and he spoke to her. He asked her, "Who are you, fair lady, who live fearlessly in such a dreadful, solitary forest? Whose are you? Who do you belong to? Why are you here?" Are you alone? On being spoken to, that spotless maiden replied, "Welcome, Prince. Please sit down." He knew he is a prince. "Welcome, Prince. Please sit down." Hospitality is the sacred duty of the pious. I have noticed that you have overtaken by the tornado and are afflicted. So it's my duty now to look after you. Tie your horse to the date palm. Sit here and take rest. And then you will be able to listen to me in comfort. Then she gave him fruits to eat and juices to drink. After he had refreshed himself, he was further treated with her charming words, which dropped like sweet nectar from her lips. She said, "Prince, there is that well-known rishi, sage, called Vyaghrapada, an ardent devotee of Shiva. Vyaghrapada is a great devotee of Shiva, by whose penance, tapasya, all the worlds have been transcended, and who is ever worshipped by the great saints for his unparalleled wisdom, both with regard to this and to the other world. I am his foster child. I am Yajnaprada's father's foster child. Hemaleka is my name. What happened? I am his foster child. Hemaleka is my name. What is the name of the prince? Hemachuda. Hemaleka is my name. There was a Vidyadhari, a celestial damsel, Vidyut Prabha by name, who was very beautiful. One day she came here to bathe in this river, Vena river, to which Shusena, the king of Vanga, also came at the same time. He saw the celestial beauty bathing. Who? Vidyut Prabha. Don't get confused. She was fairest in the world and least in body, most beautiful, and so on. I won't go to the rest. It might appear like Vamachara, so the description. He fell in love with her, which love she returned. Their love consummated, and he returned home, leaving her pregnant, like Shakuntala. Afraid of slander, she caused an abortion. But I was born alive from the womb. As Vyaghrapada came to the riverbank for his evening bath, he picked me up because of his great love for all, in order to bring me up with a mother's care. So this great Rishi even though he is considered to be a very great Rishi who knew about this world and the next, his compassion to helpless creatures was most important. So, Vyagrapada picked up this little child who was lying on the banks of the river in order to bring me up with a mother's care. He who offers righteous protection is said to be the father, not others. I am therefore his daughter by virtue of this, and I am devoted to him. There is certainly no fear for me anywhere on earth on account of his greatness. Vyagrapada is there as father. Who can touch me? Be they gods or asuras, they cannot enter this hermitage with bad motives. If they did, they would only be courting their own ruin. I have now told you my story, so wait here, Prince, a little. Don't think you have become too friendly and come inside. Wait here. The same Lord, my foster father, the great Rishi, will soon be here. Salute him and hear him with humility. Your desire will be fulfilled and you may leave here in the morning. One night I can offer you, but here. But this Hemachuda, Hema is gold. This Hemachuda, having heard her and becoming enamored of her, was silent for fear of giving offense. He didn't immediately start saying, I love you, and in movies. But he became distressed in mind. Noticing that the prince was love-stricken, that highly accomplished girl continued, Bravo, prince! Be steady, my father is about to come. Watch out. Tell him all. As she was saying this, Vyagrapada, the great saint, arrived, carrying a basket of flowers culled from the forest for worshipping. Seeing the sage coming, the prince rose up from his seat and prostrated before him, mentioning his own name, and then took his seat as directed. Sage noticed that the man was love-stricken. First look. He said, Parkalam. Then he said, we'll see. So, this scene, okay. Sage noticed that the man was love-stricken, taking in the whole situation by his occult powers. He pondered on what would be the best course under the circumstances and ended up by bestowing Hemalekha on the young man as his life partner. Done. Scene 1 is over. It's only scene 1. The prince was filled with joy and returned with her to his own capital. Muktachuda, his father, was very pleased and ordered festivities in the kingdom. He then had the marriage performed ceremoniously, and the loving couple passed a very happy honeymoon in the palace, in forest retreats, on sandy beaches. He sent them to Penang also. Joe. But the infatuated prince, the prince was watching this lady. Infatuated prince noticed that Hemalekha was not as amorous as himself. Every time he said, hello, let's have a good time, he said, wait, I'll go for a walk and come back. Every time I said, have a cup of tea. He says, why is this lady like this, keeping away? But otherwise well behaved, but not so amorous as he was. Feeling that she was always unresponsive, he asked her in private, my dear, how is it that you are not as attentive to me as I am to you? Thou fairest of girls, radiant with smiles, how is it that you have never keen on seeking pleasure or enjoying it? Are not these pleasures to your taste? You look indifferent even during the greatest pleasures. How can I be happy if your interest is not awakened? Even when I am close to you, your mind seems to be elsewhere. When spoken to you, sometimes you don't seem to listen. As I hold you in close embrace for a long while, you seem unconscious of me and then ask me, Lord, when did you come? None of the carefully planned arrangements seem to interest you, and you do not take part in them. When I turn away from you, you remain with your eyes closed. And so you continue whenever I approach you. Tell me, how I can derive pleasure with nothing but an artist's model before me, which is what you are, seeing your indifference to all enjoyments. What does not please you cannot please me either. I am always looking to you, trying to please you like a lily looking up at the moon. Speak, dear, why are you like this? You are dearer to me than even life. I adjure you, speak and so relieve my mind. Thus ends the third chapter in the section on potency of association with the wise. Can you make something out of this ending in the Tripura Rahasya? The great Hemachuda is in close contact with a wise lady. Therefore, what happens after that? One who knows, being trained by the great Rishi, her foster father. We'll do in the next session, but I will, just to keep you involved, the first sentence of chapter 4 is, on hearing the sweet words of her infatuated lover, who was all the time pressing her to his bosom, the stainless girl wished to teach him. She is the guru now. Smiled gently and spoke with good sense. Listen to me, O prince. Now enjoy your lunch and then we'll come back and